And we know that our patterns and our consumption patterns have changed also because the next story I have with me is a story from Vice about the incredible rise of OnlyFans. So OnlyFans is a social media. It's kind of in some ways like YouTube, where you subscribe to content from content producers and then you pay a fee to subscribe. So the article I brought with me is called Inside Singapore's Hidden OnlyFans Scene. And I think, those of you who do know OnlyFans will say, well, OnlyFans is not really like YouTube because it's mostly sexual content. And that is right. It's not only sexual content. There's also musicians and all kinds of people who do some kind of service or art that people want to pay to watch, can broadcast on OnlyFans. But OnlyFans' membership has skyrocketed, and it leads to a lot of debates about the kind of content that's there, how it's challenging social norms, and also what the people in the films, in the pictures, will actually, what kind of consequence it'll have for their life. So if we first look at the context of Singapore, Singapore is a country where sex is still very much taboo. And for example, it also states in the article, gay sex is technically a crime and being naked in public is considered illegal.
Wow.
Yes. So it's definitely a country that's still very strict. And they have very harsh penalties. We know this across the board, whether it's drugs or anything illegal. Don't ever do something illegal in Singapore. Not the place to do it. And then there's this like underground consumption resistance because more and more people are consuming sexual or pornographic content through OnlyFans. And so OnlyFans, a lot of people, content producers, as they'd like to call themselves, state, when they describe what OnlyFans is, they say it's a channel where I'll make a small video or a picture. And then usually the entry fee is quite low. So the monthly subscription fee is quite low because the sell up, it's kind of like an in-app purchase, right? The sell up is that you can get specialized attention. So for example, if you subscribe to videos and pictures from a woman, then you can also contact her and then order special things like exclusive content, exclusive pictures, or pictures or videos containing exclusive acts that are to your liking. So in the article, we follow one of the Singaporean content producers on OnlyFans. And she says, I've gotten really weird requests like period blood, piss, armpit fetishes.
What?
So all kinds of things. But she has over 1,000 subscribers who have joined the platform in just the last year. And she can get as much as $300 for what she calls an unconventional photo or a photo request. So a lot of the debate that's happening now is that the rise of OnlyFans also has to do with the pandemic. Because a lot of, there's kind of like two groups that are migrating on the content production side to OnlyFans. One, we have the traditional sex worker who was already a sex worker, but because of quarantine rules, they are having a harder time doing that job in person. So they're migrating and diversifying their income channels via OnlyFans. And that's something we talk about all the time, diversification. But then there's actually a second group that's increasingly using it from a content production perspective, and that's regular, men and women, overweight with women, but who are using it as an alternative income to, instead of a student job, for example. We're actually seeing lots of students that are using it to make money to get themselves through college. And this is kind of where some of the, experts are coming in saying there are some potential problems with this. We have seen some of the same dynamics start from when sugar dating, obviously still a concept. It became really big the last 2 years. And now we know a little bit about how it might influence a person's life. So what they're saying, and what also some of the firsthand narratives of some of the women that have been interviewed, is that it's a really slippery slope, because it'll go anywhere from like a woman sort of half naked in a costume to like, explicit sexual acts. So several people have said that that, that is a slippery slope, and that they feel like they're very fast being pushed out of their comfort zone to do stuff that probably wasn't originally what they had intended to do. Another consequence is more when we talk about how will this influence people's lives afterwards. So I actually watched a debate on television last night where they asked several employers, would you hire someone who had a channel with sexual content when they were a student on OnlyFans to be a banker or to be a real estate agent or to work in a tech firm? And across the board, everybody said, no, I would not hire that person. So there is something that appeals to me, both about generational differences, because a lot of the women say, I'm not doing anything that you're not doing. I'm just recording it. And why should I feel shame doing an act that is just like sleeping or eating because it's just sex?
Yeah.
So I think, again, when I first started hiring, I completely stopped looking at people's Facebook when they sent an application, because then already it feels kind of like hopeless, I think. Then you're seeing their party pictures and all this, and you begin to have all these ideas of who they are. But you don't have any idea what they're like just because you see them in 2009 at a party downing a bottle of vodka. I mean, for sure, I know that I did that. So I think that as an employer, I try to stick to the recommendations and the materials that I'm sent. But obviously, as our digital footprint is expanding, then we are likely to know more about people. And, the dilemma of the employer in the future is going to be much, much bigger than it is right now.
But it's a very strange perception. So they would say these women, like, they're not fit for this and this because they've done this. But men, like whoever's saying that, are promoting the creation of content like this because they're watching the content all the time. And women are like, well, okay, that's a way to make money, easy way to make money. Why not then? So the more you promote the creation of the content, the more content you get and the more people you get creating the content. So it's like that
yeah, and
loop.
I think for me, what it's mostly about is that I think a lot of young people don't realize the permanence of their social media footprint.
Yeah.
So I think that, being a sex worker is perhaps the oldest profession on earth. I personally think that prostitution should be illegal. Studies show pros and cons for each. So it's a very sort of individual point whether you believe in that or not. But I think, to me, I just want to make sure that nobody gets into this without fully realizing the consequences and how difficult it will be for them to delete that part of their life in case that's something that they're not proud of later. And I think we see a lot of the men and women on there, because it's just as many men as it's women, say that it's a way for them to explore their boundaries. And, I fully support that. But sometimes I think exploring your boundaries in public is a different thing than exploring it in private. So there is a little bit of sort of danger to that. But for sure, this is the way it's going to go. And I do see some potential of cutting out the pimp, to be quite frank. I think a lot of the sex industry has these layers on top where it's men making money off of women.
True.
And I think here, of course, we cannot rule out that there are also middlemen involved in some of this. But I think it is my hope that some of the women that get into it out of their free will are actually then also the ones that are monetizing it. And then, then they are the boss. They are a mini entrepreneur doing their own business. And they are not paying a guy behind the scenes.
Which in terms also decreases the chance of people getting diseases on the street and like unwanted pregnancies, and a lot of bad stuff are like excluded from the picture because of OnlyFans. Yeah. I'm not saying there's no bad side on all of that, but a lot of good side as well.
Yeah.